Good morning, grandkids. We are here with another chapter of the book I'm writing based loosely on my gameplay of The Listener. This is the next chapter where we left off before I went on 2 weeks vacation. Unlocking the last doors in the ship that would lead me to my goal, I walked in and stood there facing the Emperor. Neither one of us had our weapon drawn. Once more, I proved Commander Merrill the fool. I told him that the Dark Brotherhood couldn't be stopped, he said. I took a couple of cautious steps inside and stopped to look around the room, making sure that we were alone. I shut the door behind me as I said, "That's right," and it took me longer than expected, but I'm now here. "Come now," he said. "You haven't come this far just to stand there, have you?" "You sound like you've been expecting me," I said. "Of course. You and I have a destiny together. So is with assassins and emperors. Yes, I must die, and you must deliver the blow. But first, would you let me speak a few more words, though, before the deed is done?" "Sure, I'm listening." "I thank you for your courtesy," he said. "You will kill me, and I've accepted that fate. I sense in you a certain ambition, so I ask a favor. An old man's dying wish. Many would see me dead, but there's one who set this whole thing in motion. That person, whomever they are, must be punished," he said. "Once you have been rewarded for this assassination, I want you to kill the person who ordered it. Would you do me this kindness?" "I will consider your request," I said, "but no one ever tells me anything. If I can find out the person responsible, yes, I will kill them." "Fine," he said with a smile. "Now, on to the business at hand, shall we?" He walked over to the window and stopped with his back to me, taking his last look outside at the sea that he loved and had sailed on many a time. I walked over to him and stood close near his side as I asked, "Why are you resigned to your death? You could have had soldiers in here with you. You could have had me killed long before now. Why this choice?" He looked sideways at me and thought for a bit. Then he said, "I really haven't been a very good emperor, I suppose. I've had people put to death without bothering to know if it was right or wrong. I've shunted my wife off to the side of my life. I've ignored my son. I've been letting my life pass by without participating in it. No real passion about anything. So why not? Many have tried to take me out. Finally, I felt that I wanted out, all the way out. That's when I started looking around, getting more lax to make it a little easier for someone to do. Once I found the Brotherhood, I decided, why not them? Then I waited for someone else to find you. I knew they would. But still, you don't assassinate an emperor. I want someone with that kind of an inner heart and thinking. They can travel the road I shall now be taking. He centered his eyes back out the window, releasing a deep and weary sigh. I quietly said, "I'm sorry. Go to a better reward." I slipped my dagger deep into his ribs, piercing his heart. I gently helped him to the floor. I couldn't bring myself to just let him fall harshly. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm becoming a different person, and I don't know how or why. Well, yes, I do, because of Nazir. I feel love, and it's affecting me in other situations. I don't know if this is a good thing or not. Okay, Motierre, I'm coming back to talk to you. You're the one who set up this contract. I'm coming for my money and for your life on behalf of the Emperor. No contract involved. This will be a freebie for him. I went out and closed the door onto a small balcony. I spotted a convenient spot on the shore, not too far from the ship, and I jumped into the water and started swimming. Once on shore, I stood there, my clothes wet and dripping, looking back out toward the ship. It was dark and gently rocking, a death ship, an empty reminder of an uncared-for emperor. I raised my hand in a salute and turned away. The evening was descending and my job here was finished. I sat down on a large stone, took out my notebook, and started writing down this tale. Well, I'm finally free of the struggle of trying to take out the Emperor, but the very idea that Motierre, who put out the contract on him, is alive bothers me deeply. I will be doing something to correct this soon. I'm coming for you, Motierre, and my money. I put my journal away and stood up, started back up to Solitude, just up the road. When I got to where I left Shadowmare, I could see that he was watching me all the way up the road. "Did you miss me? Are you thinking that I've left you too long?" I gave him a hug and hopped on. "Let's fly, my pet. I need to go to Whiterun before we head back to Dawnstar. Just as well get it done while we're out and about." And off he flew. In Whiterun, I went to the Vandermeer, and Motierre was there, as usual. He was sitting off in a little side room at a table with 2 chairs. He indicated one of the chairs, and I sat down across from him. He pushed a mead across the table toward me, with his eyes on me, and waited. "I've fulfilled your contract, Motierre, not particularly liking it. Where's my money?" "Don't you want to relax a bit and have a drink? How did the job go?" he asked, smiling. "I don't want to discuss the job or have a drink," I said. "The Emperor is dead. There's nothing more needs said." "All right," he said as he slapped his hands together in good spirits and grinning wider. I was so going to enjoy getting rid of this fool. "Your payment is in a large urn back in Volenrud, where we first met. And after you leave here, let's make sure that we don't see one another again." And he dipped his head toward me with a little wink. I got up without a word and walked over to the door of the little room and quietly shut it. I turned around and looked at him, slowly walking back to the table. "Huh?" he said, and got up from his chair, his hand slipping down toward his dagger. "What's going on?" "Well, let's just say I picked up another contract from the Emperor. But I'm doing this one for free. Just for the pure joy of it," I said as I smiled. I whipped out my sword and lashed out at him. Missed. He yelled as he made a hurried lunge at me with the dagger and jumped behind his chair. I grabbed the chair and threw it across the small room, and I stuck the sword up through his ribs and into his heart. The guards had been pounding on the door, finally getting it open and rushing in. We stood there looking at each other while Motierre's blood ran across the floor. They took me away with my hands tied and a smile on my face. Finally, in a few days, the guards had me pay a hefty fine and let me go, with the admonition never to return to Whiterun again. I laughed. I could live with that. I didn't care where I was ever at, or not at. I went out the gates and looked for Shadowmere. He was waiting, of course, and watching me every step of the way. I gave him a pat on the nose, hopped on his back. I patted him on the flank and said, "Let's go to Bullenrood, my friend." And that's the end of this chapter, and I will see you next time for the next chapter of my book, The Listener. So bye-bye, grandkids.